Yeah, one of the highlights of having Jay and Vicky along on our bodyboard coaching holiday to El Salvador every year is chatting to Jay and hearing him talk story about his incredible rich heritage in bodyboarding and the tales of waves and maneuvers and bodyboarders of different ages and backgrounds and all the stories that we all wanted to know. And I just want to pick his brain today about a few pipeline stories.
Oh yeah.
And I want to start with the time that Guilherme Tâmega took things to another level with the biggest waves that I can ever remember seeing ridden a pipeline. Take it away.
Well, yeah, so that year was 1994, as I recall. And, you know, mere mortals like myself would always hope that the waves would be manageable at Pipeline. We did not wish for giant, crazy surf, but Guilherme Tâmega is not a mere mortal, as we all know now. He wanted it as big and gnarly as it could get because he had this, I don't know, this personality trait that he just wanted to put everything he had on the line to beat the man who dominated a Pipeline, Mike Stewart, and he was willing to die for it. In fact, I think I remember him actually saying, I was ready to die to beat Mike Stewart at Big Pipeline, because really, Pipeline was the proving ground of bodyboarding back then, and if you could win at Pipeline, specifically Big Crazy Pipeline, you were at the pinnacle of bodyboarding. So Pipeline that day was wild and woolly. I believe it started out sort of in the manageable range, maybe what they would call 6 to 10 feet, which for normal people is like you double that size. So it was like 10 to 20 foot faces. And as the day went on, the wind came up and the waves got bigger and bigger. And Guilherme just met that power with his own level of power that was flabbergasting. So we sat on the beach because I'd lost early on, thank God. I didn't want to have to paddle back out in those crazy waves.
Loss.
Yes, and Guilherme was basically taking off on these waves that most people would be terrified to even take off on, and he was riding them like it was a 2-foot beach break. He was bottom turning on 15-foot face waves, going up to the lip on these slabbing closeouts and hitting the lip and doing giant rolls. And the landings, I mean, your skeletal system is not meant for that kind of abuse. And GT was just taking it over and over and over again, and it was just mind-blowing, the performance that he put on. He really, I mean, he was coming up the ranks at that time, but he really put a stamp on it with that contest. And he really set the stage for what was to be a dominating career on what was then to be the GOB World Tour, which started the next year.
Sure.
And he won that tour 6 times.
Yeah.
So that was just the beginning. I mean, he you know, served notice that he was I hate to use this cliche, but he was indeed a force to be reckoned with.
You see, everybody see I try hard to win this event, and when I came in '94, I said, man, this year have to be my year, and I won it. I got it. I love this wave Pipeline. I love.
Another year with the shock result. It was shocking for us guys over in the UK because we would only get the information by magazine when it would filter through sometime later. Surprising, I should say, not shocking, was when Mike Eppo'Eppelstun won. So you were in that event?
Yeah, I was 17 years in a row I did that event, and Eppo was known for his aerial acrobatics, but mostly on small and medium-sized waves. He was not a big wave guy.
Sure.
He did paddle out at Pipe on some, you know, big days and took off on some waves, but his forte was doing very technical aerial flip type maneuvers. Double roll was one of his signature moves. The ARS is a move that he introduced to worldwide competition, and he, I know for a fact, was hoping the waves would not be big and crazy. And fortunately for him, he woke up that day and the surf was manageable. It was maybe 6 to 8 foot faces at the biggest. A lot of waves were smaller than that, and he was in his element. I think he said in an interview he woke up that day and he just felt like this was going to be his day. So he went out there and he won that event with his aerial acrobatics, but specifically, I remember at the end of the event, he had a right-hander, I believe, and he took off on the wave, and he needed that wave to win, and he knew when he took off he's going to do the double roll, and he pulled it off, landed it, and the rest is history. So Eppo became, the first ever Australian world champ at that point.
Classic.
Yep.
Yeah, insane. Changing of the guard for a little period there.
Big time.
Yeah. So it would be remiss to discuss pipeline without the master himself, Mike Stewart.
So the Moree International Pipeline Contest was first held in December of '82. It was not the first bodyboarding event at Pipeline. There was a bodyboard brand called Surecraft that partnered with Coca-Cola, and they put on the first bodyboarding event at Pipe. Mike was in college at USC in California at the time. He was not even on the radar. No one knew who he was. He was on the Big Island and was not in the bodyboarding scene. But in 1982, when Moree brought the world together to compete at Pipe, Mike showed up, and he was basically an unknown. I think he had been to a couple of contests on Oahu, but no one really knew who he was. So at that point, the pinnacle of the sport, at least out at Pipeline, was a guy named Daniel Kaimi. He rode giant pipeline like it was a 2-foot beach break. I've mentioned that with GT, but the same with Daniel Kaimi. He really just was super comfortable out there. But the state of the art in bodyboarding at that time for Rollos, let's talk about the Rollo, because that really was what cemented Mike's reputation at Pipe. The Rollo up to that point was you went up to the lip of the wave and you went upside down, and then you sort of just flipped it over real quick and fell back down, right? So you didn't actually ride the lip over with the wave. Nobody did that.
Sure.
So in that event, Daniel Kaimi and a lot of other competitors were doing those, we can almost call them El Flopos, I guess, by today's standards. And then here comes Mike Stewart. This is, again, back in '82. He actually takes off on a wave, and it was really good pipeline that year, 6 to 8 foot Hawaiian scale. Bottom turns, and sort of like a corkscrew roller coaster, rides the lip out and over and fully in the air, rolls it, lands, and keeps going. So people were blown away. I was on the beach, I saw it, and we all just kind of looked at each other and realized this is a pivotal moment in the sport. This is a performance marker that's going to change the sport of bodyboarding, and indeed it did. And just to cut to the chase, Mike utilized those giant, we called them sky rolls back then, because he was really like in the sky, like I don't know how high in the air, 12, 15 feet in the air. He used that maneuver along with some tube riding to win that event, and he won it 9 times. His domination at Pipeline was, I mean, we talk about Kelly Slater, 8-time Pipeline champion. Mike is 9-time Pipeline champion, and that's only on the bodyboard. Yeah. That's not even talk about his body surfing wins at Pipeline. So he is the most victorious wave rider ever to ride that spot. And even to this day, in 2022, Mike Stewart, almost 59 years old, still dominates out of Pipeline. But those years in the 80s and 90s were just mind-blowing. He set the standard for high performance bodyboarding to, back in those days, and paved the way for the guys that dominate the sport today.
Sure, 100%, yeah. I mean, high performance wave riding at Pipeline, full stop, really, I guess. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. So interesting to hear. Thanks, Jay. That's a snapshot of what Jay tells us on a daily basis.
I love it. Yeah. I love it.
So yeah, if you like it, maybe come along on one of the trips and experience it yourself. So yeah, thanks very much, Jay.
No worries, man. Thank you.
Cheers.
If you would like more tutorials, interviews or product reviews, just hit the like and subscribe button. And for more information on our UK and international coaching weekends, retreats, holidays and Outdoor Instructor Academy, visit our website at www.bodyboard-holidays.com, and we look forward to getting barreled with you soon.